And welcome to the Fort Dorchester Football Show with Coach Steve LaPrade. I'm the voice of the Patriots, Richard Todd, and it was the rivalry game. Summerville coming to Bagwell Stadium to take on your Fort Dorchester Patriots. We're going to talk about that, plus all the flooding and how that played a role leading up to this game, and looking ahead to the Patriots going on the road at Colleton County as we talk with Coach Steve LaPrade. FDfootball.com will have more coming up next. Coach, Summerville game, and I want to talk to you about some stuff before the Summerville game, because talk about the decision-making going into playing the game at West Ashley on that Thursday night before the rain, even though you guys played in a big rainstorm, won 29-6 on the road, but talk about that decision-making and playing the game on Thursday.
Well, West Ashley called up here, and they said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, listen, I said, I'm not a meteorologist, but I said, I know one thing. I said, it's not going to be good tonight, and that was Thursday. I said, but I do know something. It's going to be worse Friday. It's going to be worse Saturday. And there's no way in the world we'll have a chance to play on Monday. So, to me, it's either we play tonight or I don't know when we're going to play.
What would you have done had you not played on that Thursday night?
Oh, boy. Probably what everybody else did. Probably end up, canceling that game, which would have hurt us point-wise. You get one mark-off game, so I'm sure all these schools that didn't get to play, that's going to be their mark-off game. So, if you played a 2A or 3A team, the points is going to really hurt you. So I'm glad, because I think West Ashley, they're a 4A, a Big 16, they'll have a winning record. So that was one of those times you made a decent decision, and it worked.
It worked, and you got the win on the road at West Ashley, and then the historic flooding that's happened all across the state of South Carolina. No school in Dorchester District 2 the entire week leading up to the Summerville Fort Dorchester Showdown. How did that play into practice and scheduling?
Well, what really hurt us is, Monday and Tuesday they didn't let us practice, which is understandable. And so, of course, as a coach, you're like, come on, we need to practice. But I knew our district office and people had a whole lot bigger and worse things to think about than Steve LaPrade and Fort Dorchester High School practicing football. But finally, on Wednesday, they said if all three athletic directors of the three schools agreed, they would let us practice. So we did, of course, got our coaches, and we just started calling. And I said, call all the kids. It wasn't mandatory. If we had any kid, obviously, that could not come, it was fine. So on all three levels, I called Summerville. I said, listen, I think we need some type, get back to normal. Let's try to do the JV B team on Thursday, and let's play the varsity game on Friday. And so we did. I said, it's fair. We're both going to practice the same amount. And I think some of the sloppiness tonight, that was from, we really didn't prepare well. The kids, they're not going to school. They don't, and I think that had something to do with our game tonight being a little sloppy. So it's been a rough week. I don't think any of our kids got hit really bad like I'm sure some families did. And gosh, we were thinking about them. That's horrible. But I think it really helped that, the two communities got together, got back to some kind of normal life. Friday night is all about high school football, so it's good. We had to cancel the Thursday night thing. We didn't make that, so I think our JV's going to play Summerville on Monday.
But it was good to get back to some sense of normalcy, though there's been so much damage that people are going to be cleaning up for weeks, for months, rebuilding from this flooding. And all of this heading into what is the traditional rivalry game between Fort Dorchester and Summerville. You get into the game. At halftime, it's 35-7. Let's talk about the first half for a little bit. Summerville with a bunch of turnovers. Takeaways were huge in the first half. The defense playing a great game, and the offense converting on those turnovers. Talk about that first half of play, because it seemed like without those turnovers, the game might have been a little bit closer at halftime.
Yeah, and that was part of it. And we both had a lot of turnovers by the end of the game. But I agree with you. The first half, the turnovers did have something to do with it. I don't think, what did we punt one time tonight, I think?
And one punt for the whole night. DeCarrion had 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. DeAndre Champagne had a big receiving, 8 receptions, 2 touchdowns. But in the first half, the offense and the opening of the second half, right down the field, really moved the ball very well.
I thought they did. They looked good. And like I said, we really, I don't know if I think they may have stopped us maybe twice the whole game. We kind of stopped ourselves. So, and then, like I said, I really feel like a lot of that was due to not practicing, not being sharp and clean. And, we usually don't turn the ball over that much. We didn't really run the ball real well. They were kind of packing it in there. But I thought as a whole, I'm proud of our kids. It's been a rough week. It's been tough. A lot of people had a lot of problems, and parents trying to get them up here to practice, and you're scared about them being on the road. And it was just, the whole week was very uneasy. I mean, everything about it was uneasy. And, even to have practice, you're worried about this, you're worried about that. And the field was so wet, and it was just a mess.
Well, I'll tell you right, at halftime, Summerville was feeling rather uneasy as a 35-7 lead for the Patriots. Lots of turnovers, lots of action. We're going to talk about the second half and look towards the next game on the road to Colleton County as we continue with Coach Steve LaPratt here at FDfootball.com. As we look at the second half of action with Fort Dorchester having a 35-7 lead going into the second half. Hall of Fame night, the 2015 class was inducted into the Fort Dorchester Athletic Hall of Fame. And let's talk about the second half. Let's talk about defense. The defense, after the first 3 games this year, has really played good football. What's the difference in the defense that you can see between the beginning of the year and where you are now heading down the home stretch?
Well, they just grew up, and they play hard. We're still, we don't have a lot. They're getting some games under the belt now. But, they just play so hard. Tonight, Summerville moved the ball on us a lot. We got a lot of penalties. The second half, a lot of turnovers.
Let me ask you about that in the third quarter, just because Summerville tried to make a game of it there in the third quarter and tried to cut it to about a 3-score game. Right. There were several personal foul and sportsmanlike conduct penalties that kind of hurt. And, that's been a rap against Fort Dorchester for a long time about personal fouls and unsportsmanlike. I mean, what do you say when you hear that and then you see that tonight that almost opened the door for Summerville to get back in the game?
It bothered me. I like hearing that you said, they tried to tighten it up to get it within 3 scores. That was nice.
You like that way that sounds?
I like that. But I know what you're saying. I really thought there were, I hate to say anything about the officials, but I thought their guy punched our guy, and
they got the retaliation and not the first.
Well, I mean, we got 2 penalties off of it. It's 30 yards worth of penalties. And I really thought we had a couple fumbles. I mean, the 2 fumbles on our side were, but.
And then the refs missed 2 fumbles on replay. Both of those were fumbles that were not called.
You really, I go back and I look, and I mean, we didn't really get any breaks with calls and breaks with fumbles. I mean, it could have easily been 75, 80 points. So with that being said, but that's how it is. You get some, you don't get some. So
how do you assess your team right now after the Summerville game? 8-0 for the first time in school history.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I'm proud of them. They're a good group. They're a good team. That's the thing. They're a team. We got some outstanding individuals, but they don't stand out.
How do you keep them focused, though? There's a lot of talk about big things down the road, what could be, but 8-0, and you go on the road at Colleton County, who almost upset Ashley Ridge tonight. Okay. I mean, how do you keep them focused game to game?
Got to. It's all about the region now. I told them, I said, those 7 games, that was great. I'm proud of you guys, but I said, we lose the next 4, we're not going to make the playoffs. I said, so, that's 7-4, not make the playoffs, then you're going to get it. So we're going to take them one at a time. We really break it down. We'll come in here Sunday, get Summerville, wash that away. That'll be done. Start working Monday on Colleton County. They've done a great job so far with it. I keep them pretty grounded. I feel like I do, and it's every week's going to be tough for us. I feel like we got a bullseye. We get everybody's best game. That was probably the best Summerville's played in the last 2 months.
But before we move on, and before we wrap this up, we just have to say, last year was the first time that you beat the Summerville team. Mm-hmm. Now it's 3 in a row. Mm-hmm. It's got to feel good to beat your arch rival with 3 in a row.
It does. I mean, I think about it. The 2 largest schools in the state of South Carolina. Wando, they've scored 6 points on us in 3 years. We probably put close to 200 points on them, and Summerville. The last 2 games we've scored almost 100 points on Summerville. So I think you see the changing of the guard. I feel like Fort Dorchester is kind of getting where I'd like for them to be. I'd like for it to have been this way 5 years ago, but we are. It's been a challenge, but it's good. I got good kids, good parents. You know, we got a great following right now. I feel like we got the best student section in the state of South Carolina.
Well,
They're unbelievable.
The final score was Fort Dorchester 55, Summerville 23. Fort Dorchester goes to 8-0 for first time in school history on the road at Colleton County. And then the senior night game, regular season home finale against Bluffton. And of course, the finale of the regular season will be on the road at Ashley Ridge, and we look towards the playoffs. FDfootball.com. 3 in a row over the Green Wave. I just like the way that sounds. I wanted to say that again.
That does sound good. And I'm going to tell you something else most people don't know. We haven't lost a B team game. We haven't lost a JV game. We haven't lost a varsity game. And even our Powder Puff team's undefeated.
Well, that sounds like good news for Fort Dorchester's future. I don't know about the Powder Puff, but Coach, congratulations on 3 in a row, and good luck on the road at Colleton County. Remember, throughout the year, keep in touch with Patriot Football at FDfootball.com.